Good evening. We are picking up roughly where we left off last time. Congratulations to Rian on being first. And thank you for the headpats. Now I simply need to remember how to play this game. If memory serves, I was up here in the gardens. This feels about correct, yeah. By turning in the quest. Yes. I should go. It's all coming back to me now. Alright, these little slime bricks are gonna be a problem, I can see. But that's okay. Because the solution is violence. Yeah, the icicle shotgun spells still seems really strong. Venema? I had the thought, like, wait, what if there's a reason to kill that guy? Arrows shot from this bow transform to venom on impact. Poisoning the target for a few seconds only works on living monsters. Well, I am not an archer, but if I had one in my party, I would happily pass that to them. Did I just not light the sconces on the way up here? Or is this not where the guy is? I think this might just not be where the guy is. Potion of speed. This is fine. Ring of Ice, that sounds, relevant to what I've been doing. Let's see, where is that? 5% extra damage with Frost. It's not a lot, but I can wear 8 rings at once, so this is fine. I don't like the creepy crawlies. Shoot, I forgot about the corpses doing that. I guess because they got those, like, bulbous sac things on them, it's probably filled with poison. At least the pet is still awesome. I was like, may as well just wipe out everything in this room if I'm gonna be going through it a few times. Yeah. Luckily, those guys aren't capable of following me through a basic screen transition. So this is fine. Also, I just had the thought. If this game doesn't have, like, a map editor, it really should. I think it does. But, like, if it didn't, it ought to. Ow. Ow, my face. That is another gate, actually. I could have sworn that the, I could have sworn that the guy I was, getting the thing for was, like, right by... Like, just up the ladder from where I was. Oh well, this is fine. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's only so many rooms. You'd think that I would have found him by now. I remember him not being too far away. It's weird. Oh well. Yeah, exactly. It's weird that I can't find him. Oh well, I'm sure I'll come across him sooner or later. It might just be through, that transition to the upper left there. I don't need anything from here. I've got all the chests from there, so I don't have to go up there. Oh no, my poor pet. It's fine, he can just shake it off. This was it. Actually, before I hand it over, does the book of wisdom actually say anything interesting? Grants wisdom, giving you 5 extra skill points. Hold on, I did it. Here, you can have the book, but first I want my reward. Oh, this is so great. You can have all the coins I promised. Now I have to go, thank you again. I should have kept the book. Oh well. Learning moment. Yep, I could have, I just wasn't sure if the reward would be worth it. Oh, and then this was the phone call with the mother. Which I've already, sat through. You know, I haven't saved my game yet. I could just kill myself. Did he tell me what the reward was? I must have missed that. Nope, too late. Oh well. When I say I miss it, I mean like I didn't factor it into my decision making. It doesn't actually mean that I missed it. Actually, I wonder. That was like a quick save. I was like, what if I just... Okay, so the game is actually just like full saving behind me. Fair enough, no scumming. Not for this. Oh well. If I'd had the thought earlier, maybe. He's out of energy anyway, may as well be filling. Yellow magic essence, that's a new one. So we got like fire, frost, arcane, healing. Wonder what yellow is. King drops fighters. Alchemy, perhaps. I'm probably going to die of poison if I don't leave. So I should probably leave. There was also that other gate that I could potentially open. So like maybe I ought to do that too while I'm at it, since I'm in the area. These slime slug things are weirdly tanky. Granted, they might just be scaled up to account for the fact that, like, I've got a pet now. That actually does a fair amount of damage. I forgot to go for my staff before using magic. Silly me. That's like 30% more damage. I don't want to leave that on the ground. On my face. Okay, so the gate is a screen below. Ah, I see black for it. Excuse me, there's a tile sticking up on the floor there. Could you please tell me what it is? It's a trap. I was thinking the same thing, thanks. Very funny. Antidote, nice. pet. Nope, I was warned. I did see it. I just stepped a little bit too far forward, I guess. This is fine. I am kind of surprised that those two gates are so close to one another, though. Look, Zira, another invoker. Zira? Zira? Dude, Zira, where are you? Don't leave me now. Zira? Zira? Still here. I thought you were gone, but you left me here alone. I wish I could... Look, what can you tell me of this guardian? That if he kills you, I will be eternally grateful. Playing hard to get, huh? Come on, man, give me a clue. I have a right to know my adversary, don't I? I can only tell you that this is a living tree, and it is only vulnerable to arrows. So if it's a tree, wouldn't it make more sense to cut it down with an axe or to burn it? I presume it has been warded against those things specifically. How can you be so stupid? Magic trees are immune to axes and fire. Hey, I didn't know. In my world, trees aren't magic, okay? Well, I do have that decently powerful other bow that I got. I don't have the stats for it, but I've got it. That said, I've yet to finish exploring the area, so like... I can probably learn green magic here. This arrow is really hurt. And I don't know if there's a way around getting hit by them. I guess I could take like pot shots with fire magic or with ice bolts. I think they resist ice though, so I should probably be using fire magic if I want to do that. At least I'm picking up plenty of gemstones for the next time I'm in the shop and remember that they exist. Let's not get poisoned. I wonder if I can fall from here. Oh dear. Not the input I wanted to make. Oh well, these things happen. Okay, shooting the pet was just spiteful. But I lived. Get bumped repeatedly, nerd. I don't want to switch weapons, because I feel like that would take time that I feel like that would take time that would let it actually take a swing at me. And consequently time that I don't want to give it. These debuffs are nasty. I get bitten like once or twice and it's basically my entire health bar. I really hope that one of the spells I can learn just cures poison on me. Like, I know that I've got antidotes, but like, because they're consumable, I don't want to because they're consumable, I don't want to use them. Because like I might use them and then just like get sent back. I'd rather have a renewable solution. Are there antidotes shops? I can certainly check. Though, generally in games like this, antidotes are so expensive as to not be worth buying more than like 1 or 2 emergency ones. Let's see. Nope. 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 Recipe antidote? But at that point, I'd rather just cast the spell, you know? Arcane Arrow? Short Arrow, Long Arrow, Arcane Arrow. I might try to keep that in mind if I end up needing a little bit of extra oomph against the boss. I don't think anything else that I'm carrying is like just for selling. Though I am carrying a bunch of stuff that I'm just not gonna use. I could probably sell. You don't pick which arrows you use, each bow uses specific arrows? Gotcha. I know that I can use items, without necessarily having the right stats for it. Not this one, never mind. I was gonna say I might use like the envenoming bow. I got this one though. That's probably what I'll use against the boss if I don't find a better one. Many swords. Luckily, this place stayed mostly clear. Mistakes were made. I was really hoping that I would, like, hit the bug and then it would, like, fall rather than just exploding into a poison cloud on my face. Oh well. Mistakes were made and have been learned from. Ow. I kind of wonder if I could, beat the Guardian first, before finding the Pure Spirit. I mean, I don't necessarily learn from all of my mistakes. That bee really just hit me with the from hell's heart I stab at thee. Come on, get the thing. Kill the thing. Cold axe. Kill the thing, cold axe. You got line of effect, right? There we go. Potion of healing. Get our health back. I wonder if I should put a few more points into Constitution, come to think of it. And by a few more, I mean like... any. I probably should. Oh well. Ow. Actually, does Constitution give me passive resistance as well as extra HP? Or is it just hit points? If it's just hit points, I don't think it's worth it, but if it gives me passive resistance, then I think it would be. HP and armor level. Probably worth it then, actually. As in unlocks more SPs? Oh. Well, actually, no, isn't armor, the armor stat? This is probably fine. Apatosium coratus, common mandragora, do not cut, do not water with urine, do not fertilize with feces. Hey, a plant, how cute. Mandragora. Is that meant to be like a mandrake? I don't actually remember if that's a real plant or not. Combat mace. Imagine playing the mace that isn't for combat. Key to the laboratory. So the only way forward is... oh shoot. The only way forward is past the Mandragora. Oh, it just switched and turned around. I'm not taking the bait. There is no map for this area. Alright. Probably because I'm in a subworld. I see a door over here though, so... if only I could find that pure spirit. Oh. I was like, what if there's a gate right underneath it? Ah, there you pure spirit. Mortem tis salutem. My name is Zira, and I am a Dark Knight of the Almighty Harkonnen. If you please me and transfer your magic to me, I will have to shatter the box that protects you from this terrestrial world. You can destroy me if you wish. At least my eternal captivity in this prison of gold would end. And ask your lord and master to give up sending me his scavengers, as I will never relinquish my powers. Huh? You're no longer under his control? I thought that all the pure spirits obeyed him, but I see that I'm wrong. My name's not Zira. I'm just posing his possessed body. Why should I believe you? It's true. Look at me. I'm a being from another world. I'm a human from Earth. Human, you said? What are you doing here? I've been teleported into this castle. I have to kill all 7 of Harkonnen's guardians to get back home. I've already slain a giant worm and a red drake. What? You've slain 2 guardians? Yep, that's it. Here are the keys they used to guard. Magnificent. With pleasure will I grant you the power of healing. In a place like this, you're going to need it. However, I can only grant you my knowledge of the magic power of a Mandragora. Well then, a Mandragora? Where can I find one? The last of them still lives in the top of the gardens. I might find it. What do I do? If it's a plant, it'll grow in rows, right? Do I uproot it? Uproot it? No. Mandragoras are very delicate plants. It is necessary to transplant it into a very special container, a white marble pot. Under the great corridor of lights, there is a place where the pots are kept. There might be one left. Understood. I get the pot, find the Mandragora, swap it out, and bring it back. Anything else? I will need green magic essence to cast a spell that grants you my knowledge, young friend. Okay, I'll bring you the green essence. See you soon. Hey. Hey, Zira, you told me that pure spirits aren't here against their will. How can you explain that? This cannot be. This cannot be. This cannot be. Zira, they pulled your leg. Your master's a kidnapper. That makes no sense. The pure spirit should be grateful of my master. He sacrifices his life for their care and protection. And yeah, the corridor of lights is the grayish thing that's like one down and 2 to the right, and then stretching on for 3 more to the right. So I see where I'm probably meant to go. Wand of Polymorph permanently transforms the victim into a chicken. Polymorph is always fun. Potion of Infravision lets you see in the dark. You know, being a polymorph mage or equivalent is usually a lot of fun. Yeah, transform enemies into dinner. Want to be careful not to break any spider bodies. Another combat maze. Shoot, that's what I wanted to not do. I guess it prioritizes destroying bodies over destroying background objects. You know, Cold Axe is absolutely doing, like, a lot of the heavy lifting here. My good news is I've got a bunch of Constitution again. Or, my Constitution going up has given me a bunch more HP. So that's something. That's where the Guardian is. That's a trap. Pretty sure every single main area has a new pet to find through a quest. So Frog would have been from the mines, Cold Axe is from the sewers. And by the sounds of things, there's going to be another one in the gardens here. I will keep my eye out for that. While probably getting lost along the way, if I'm being entirely honest. Which I always am. I totally should have just gone over my head. Oh well. Also, I never did spend those like Unepic coin things. And I did pick up another challenge. Okay, just carry 18 different distinct potions. I can do that. That one won't happen over time. It's like when the quest giver asks you for something and you just happen to already have it. It's like, I was already going to hoard every potion. This is fine. Oh dear. Oh, I need 100 green magic essence. Oh dear. This is fine. I like how he took a shot at me and then forgot that I existed. I'm not mocking him for it, because people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. But it does amuse me. Okay, that's the thing that I need. I need the white marble pot for it. I still need to go off to the right in that little sub-area. But I will start by concerning myself with getting the white marble pot. I really want to believe that, like, I can get a spell that cures poison. That would make my life a lot easier. Actually, I wonder if the frog would handle these. It's like, this is the type of thing that the frog messes with, doesn't it? Yes, yes it is. True, straight appeal would also be really nice. Why did I get poisoned? This is fine. $47. Frog, devour. Thank you, frog. I wonder if this is one of those rooms where, like, killing every enemy in it gives you a reward. There's so many that it's kind of got that vibe to me. I will at least attempt to contribute. Certainly give you experience points. Oh, this is a beehive? That would explain it. I'm probably dead if I don't, Oh wait, no, the level up healed me, never mind. Now I have to leave. I was about to teleport out, hit the wrong button, and noticed that I wasn't actually dying. This works out. I straight up did not see that beehive. This is the underside of that other area that I saw earlier. I like that the plants also get poisoned by those spider things. Yeah, we're all in this together, kinda. Oh dear. Desist. Ugh. I don't like those spiders. Oh. At least Coldax will avenge me. But I lived. This is fine. Thank you, Frog. The effort is appreciated. Also, actually, it occurs to me, if these speed things actually do give experience when they die, would it not potentially just be like an EXP farm to go AFK in here with the frog out? It's like I do get credit for the frog skills. I might not reliably survive, but that doesn't mean I can't survive. That should kill that skeleton. Might need a third. I think the last time when I killed him in 2, it was because one of them crit. You know, the frog is absolutely putting in work in the gardens. Like, without question. I just need to make it there. know, when Frog has the energy to just do a bunch of hits in a row, it's a magical thing. Nice when he's relevant. I appear to have leveled up. Still trying to get my hands on that one flower pot thing. I wonder if the Pure Spirit hears me like constantly going in and out of doors and being like, it is like, oh dear, this is the person I'm like relying on. He's probably fine. That plant keeps getting the last laugh. It's like, be gone, Fox. You know, the shotgun smells like really effective and fun. It's like, well, yes, I would like to do like 400 damage a cast. Absolutely. Thank you for offering. Okay, then this room is the one with like more bugs. Some really pretty ones while we're at it. You should have had this over the big dragon. I did. Didn't I? Pretty sure I did. I killed him super fast. I had something for him. That was not the right button. Oh dear. Oh well. I was trying to switch to the axe, I think, that or the fire staff, and instead I used the halo. Didn't even heal. No, I felt different. My wounds closed before my very eyes. Everybody's respawned. I am gonna heal. Oh dear. These things happen. Mostly to me. But they do happen. I think I've mentioned this before, but like, there's something about this game in particular that makes me want to make a game of my own. Like, I already wanted to, but like... something about this game makes me think that I could. It's a different kind of feeling. I guess that might be a good way to put it. I could see myself making this game if this was the game I wanted to make. Yeah, the dev is actually advertising their next game in the main menu to this one. It's like, new game, click here. dog once more demonstrating zero chill. I landed clinging to that edge with my big toe. Walk past the Mandragora. 15th time's the charm, surely. This is fine. Nope. Okay, so now this room is still empty. He emailed the dev asking if something did cause the final boss to get deleted. They replied saying congrats on finding the cheese. Well done. It's like there's actually a thing you can do that just like deletes the final boss. That's fun. I like that. I think I will survive so long as I'm careful. Okay, 4 fireballs to get through a thing. 2 if 1 crits. Over in the ceiling. I can see it, don't worry. Never mind. Apparently it snuck up on me. I thought it was still up in the, in the leaves. Oh well. This is fine. I was just getting a tactical health refill, that's all. Ow, rude. Does the hive stay permanently destroyed even if the enemies respawn? Seems to be the case, but I don't want to presume. I remember coming down on this room from above earlier. I think. Hey, this looks like a Heat Aura scroll. The Heat Aura spell is especially effective as protection from bees. You can buy as many as you want at Zoran's shop. The balloon frog eats small bugs and is particularly useful against bees, birds, and small spiders. Zoran sells scrolls that maximize your pet's energy. I like how after I figure all this stuff out on my own, the game's just like, oh, by the way, here's a bunch of, like, solutions to these problems. Amazing. All these plants are flying. Are they yours? Yes, I gardener. I look after plants that fly. Can I have one? This would freak out everybody at home. You also look after plants? Yes, of course. Let's say that in my world I grow some exotic medicinal plants. I give Flying Plant if you show that you know how to look after plants. Is he gonna make me go through and like water all of the plants that are like dead in the gardens? Okay, how can I show this? Plants and gardens nearly dead. Need fertilizer. You look for fertilizer and feed plants. Where can I find this fertilizer? No, ran out, so you look for more. Well, fertilizer's usually poo. Let's see if I can find some. By the way, where's the toilet? Go down, then go east. Go east? Which way is east? Is it left or right? East is go right. Okay, the toilet is down and then right. Now, which way's right? I always get them mixed up. Yeah, and then if I try to use it on the Mandrake, I die, presumably. Alright, we're gonna take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom. Anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. I like how there's a big neon sign on what is presumably the bathroom. Please, do not hit walls. I bet that there's like 100 spiders behind this one. Do not hit walls. Or that's just like effectively a tutorial for the concept of like breakable walls. You know what would also be nice is I presume that like the gardener guy is going to give me like a plan type minion thing. It'd be really nice if it was a pet that healed me with its energy. I think that'd be really nice. $45 coins. Toilet. If it gets clogged, go below to remove blockage. Stick with poo. Okay. I was about to light most of these lights. Bunch of green essence. Gardening store. Entrance is for gardeners only. Oh, white marble pot. Assault axe. What axe was I using before this? It was this one, Assault Axe of the Cleric. I remember the text on it being like extra damage with light, which I now presume to be like light element damage. Stick with poo. I wonder if that's what's off to the right in the thing that I never went through. Still not sure what opens up the middle of this. Archer just decimated my frog. Alright, this is fine. Frog, destroy. Thank you, frog. Try to keep all my hotkeys straight in my head. I can at least get the white marble pot again. And then on my way to go check out that other, like, tunnel thing, I can complete the quest for the guy. For the Pure Spirit. Given how many resources it takes to destroy them, I want to believe that the hives stay destroyed. You never had frog legs, so you have had alligator tail? Interesting. I don't believe I've ever had either. I'm trying to think of like what the most out there thing I've ever eaten was. Nothing is immediately coming to mind. No, we're getting fertilizer. It's just that I need to find a stick with glue on it. Just interacting with the toilet didn't do anything. Am I sure about that? That's what the interface indicated. I will circle back around if my next hypothesis doesn't work out. The thing in the room said if there's a blockage, go clear it out underneath. I could see a room underneath. I couldn't reach the room underneath. There was no passage to the room underneath that I could find. If the thing that I'm trying to do, which is what I think is the thing to do, doesn't work, I will try other things. You don't have to backseat me. I apologize for getting a little bit, heated there. Ooh, fancy gold glowing axe. And then I got eaten. Close enough. Also, the cold aura on this axe does a lot of damage, actually. Come with me. Magic aura in a marble pot. Then off to the right here is the thing that I have yet to check out properly. Oh, hey. Lit all lights in the garden. And that gets me back here really quickly. I decided to take a stab down that route. Please teach me how to heal myself. I feel my powers returning to me, and everything thanks to you, young friend. I, Spirit of Healing, grant you the knowledge of healing. Let your eyes and your heart understand the books of curative magic, and may you use it with wisdom and honesty. Few things that foxes are well known for. The magic of healing has been added to your character page. You are now able to use healing spells and increase your skill in healing magic when gaining levels. Ah, beautiful. Tome of Healing. Costs 3 green essence, heals small wounds. It's also pretty slow, but I can work with this. Especially if I can get my hands on like a robe of concentration for healers. Which I think I might have actually seen in that shop over there, and just couldn't access earlier. Because reducing that cost by like 1 or even 2 would be really nice. Ow. Drink. Oh no, I appear to be poisoned. I just picked up enough green essence for 3 healing spells, so I think I'm probably good to not run out. As long as I don't use them too aggressively anyway. Okay, so the hint here is don't hit walls. Maybe I'm supposed to hit the wall in the bathroom? My poor frog, why would you do that? I want to go to where my frog is. But I lived. Yeah, that was a really fortuitous autosave. Alright, can I hit this wall? No. Can I hit this wall? Can I hit this wall? What about up here? What about over here? But if it gets clogged, go below to remove blockage. The only thing that it says is stick with poo. Here we go. Ah, gross. Anyway. I remember where most of these are, at least. I remember back when I used to play World of Warcraft, we're gonna die? No, it's not. I remember back when I used to play World of Warcraft, there was like a running gag that like literally nobody in the community liked, which is that every expansion there'd be at least one quest. That the entire joke was just that like you were handling fecal matter. They did this every single expansion. People kept saying, please stop. Blizzard kept doing it. And then in one expansion, they made it an entire quest line, if memory serves. Blizzard had a really uniquely antagonistic relationship with their players. Not necessarily a good thing, but definitely notable. Reminds you of Arrowhead? Arrowhead... sort of, yeah. Arrowhead really enjoys, like, making the players into the butt of the joke. Blizzard just actively doesn't like their players, which is a very different vibe entirely. Like, for example, one thing that's, like, stuck in my mind. So, again, Blizzard does World of Warcraft. At one point in time, Warlock players, Warlock being one of the classes in World of Warcraft, essentially, in a Q&A, asked, hey... Oh, I got the class of monsters. In a Q&A, basically asked the Blizzard developers, hey, Demonology Warlocks are in a really bad spot right now. Like, our damage is, like, measurably lower than, like, everybody else's. And it's bad to the point where people who want to play Demonology are being bullied out of groups for playing Demonology. Like, are you, like, aware of this? And if so, do you have any, like, plans to address it? And the two Blizzard devs are just like, well, it's actually like that on purpose because we don't want you to play Demonology. Uh-huh. And that has stuck with me. That is stuck in my mind. Like that's what I mean when I say, like, antagonistic. It's like, yeah, we gave you this thing, but, like, we're gonna make fun of you if you use it. Like, not even like, oh, it's a low priority right now. Or, like, this is under the banner of, like, overall balance. Just, nah. We'd prefer it if you didn't. So we made it bad on purpose. Do you not have phones was a completely separate thing? Like, yes, it was Blizzard, but at that point it was a completely different company. Like, they went from being antagonistic to being literally just Activision. The dot on the frog keeps getting me. I don't know off the top of my head who Grums is. presume they worked at Blizzard. Thank you, Frog. These Blizzards have to go swim with me on Twitter. Gotcha. I knew that they were like one of the people on Twitter who was just like a bad person. I didn't realize they were ex-Blizzard. I might need a little bit of healing. Just a little bit, as a treat. I actually couldn't think of it. I could have totally just like haloed back and then geed it over. Oh well, this is fine. Also, next time I'm near the shop, which is gonna be soon, I should totally drop in and see if there's like robes that reduce green magic costs. This is where the frog died the last time. I guess that's already, but the Coda Aura on the axe is really cool. It's like 75% more damage. Ross just seems like really consistently good in this game. I think that was that. Oh, my ankles. They've been set aflame. Oh, I actually ran out of blue essence. I was like, why is my spell not going off? Might have to be ever so slightly, cognizant of that. Perhaps switch back to fire for a little bit. You can buy essence. What? Is that a thing? Zoran sells it? Gotcha. It's been a minute since I've been back to Zoran specifically. I don't think the magic merchant sells it. Fedora, I think her name was. Oh, my bones. Oh dear. Not even close. Do you have robes of healing concentration? Innocent saving 1. 15% extra healing. Definitely getting this. That's a 33% reduction. And I've already got the healing spell, so... Now, if I need to heal myself, and I'm not in combat, I can quickly change my robes to do so. And let's see if Zoran actually does sell essence, because... I kind of feel like I need more blue. Or at bare minimum want some. If need be, I could go back to, like, the sewers to farm some. But it's reasonably priced, I don't mind just buying some. Hey there, Zoran. Nope. It does not sell essence. I'm pretty sure nobody sells essence, not that I've seen anyway. I think I just have to farm it. Maybe that one like special merchant did? Maybe the cook or the shop? Like, I could just switch to fire for a little bit. I'm just going up top to double check why that room is empty. Or not filled in on the map, I should say. I think it's because there was a gate there that I couldn't pass through. Yeah. I think that leads to the laboratory. Let's see if the cook sells essence. That one's the Unepic merchant. Oh, here we are. And the magic essence for 10 coins. I'll buy a reasonable quantity. I have, for the most part, been saving money. I don't mind spending it on that. Just need 4 more plants. Oh, my ankle. Oh, my other ankle. I don't know if that counts as a trick shot, because like I was technically moving in a consistent pattern. I've done all the plants down here, right? Yes, I have. Oh, devour. You sure took your time, Frog. Also, while I was in the chest place, I noticed a bunch of other, like, essence types. Those seemed interesting. What kind of magic crystalline essence allows one to cast? Where are the plants that I'm missing? So I'm pretty sure I've actually seen, or like passed through the area of like where most of them are. At least that I recall seeing. Ooh, oh. Oh, there's 2 there. Maybe off to the right here? No, that's where the Guardian is. And that's the gate. Should you see over there? Probably not. I'm just gonna keep looking for them. I wonder if they're behind these skeletons, or if there's anything behind these skeletons. Like there was that one bow behind that other skeleton earlier. Getting up there might be a problem. I almost forgot that I could target things. Okay, that did not serve a purpose. But it was worth trying. I'm sure I will stumble into the room sooner or later. My ankle has been set alight. Not once but twice. Okay, not in here. I totally should have just taken the Tome of Wisdom. Oh well. Okay, so I've been through here. I've been through here. Remaining plants have to be some... What? It looks like I fell through the floor there. I think it's just because, like, my body arching kind of, like, lined up perfectly with the chain. Ow. Rude. This is fine. My frog just dying? No, I just had it away for some reason. Weird. There are spiders on the ceiling above me. I think the frog just failed to kill one. There it is. Oh, what? Oh, rude. Wrong button. I'm actually just gonna let the poison kill me. Interesting. When I died, my maximum health went down. I wonder if that's like meant to be like a penalty for like multiplayer? Oy. Dark Souls 2 moment. I mean, technically that started with Demon Souls. But I guess if you mean like incrementally, yeah, that would be Dark Souls 2. I've attended to those. Have I attended to the ones to the right? If there are ones to the right? I do appreciate how much green essence I'm picking up. Oh, there they are. I knew I would find them eventually. So yeah, I presume that this gets me a pet. And I wonder if it's a pet that can, like, spend its energy to heal me. Let's find out. I'm just imagining there's going to be like a potted plant following me around. All the plants are fertilized. You don't have something to remove this stink, do you? Is he gonna say something like that stench is like pride for a gardener? Nope, flying plant. Appears with only half health, drains enemy's life to increase its own. When its health is full and you're injured, it transfers some of its health to you. Interesting. I'll put that where the halo is, because I'm tired of hitting that by accident. And I'll put this on Shift 8. So it is a healing plant, just not in the way that would have been, like, exactly what I wanted. Honestly, I can work with this. I can totally work with this. And resting does pull it back up to full health as well. That's cool. Let's see if I can't kill this guardian tonight. I need a bow, it said. I'm using a bow, I should use my archery equipment. Yangi. Oh dear. Wait, hold on. This thing isn't immune to ice at all. Suddenly, ActRaiser. And Zero said that only arrows would hurt him. My pet. So magic trees are different, immune to axes and fire. Did you think that I was helping you? Who do you think I am? A friend, right? Friend? Friend? You're an enemy? Well, friend, enemy. We can be friends and enemies at the same time, right? But how can somebody be friend and enemy at the same time? Well, look at Professor Xavier and Magneto. They're friends because they have lots of things in common. But they're also enemies because their goals are different. We share my body and we do the same adventures, though our goals are different. You are very strange. Though your words are typical of a fool, it seems they hide a background of wisdom. Well, my pet died. Hey, key to the library. But I did pick up enough stuff to buy the thing to revive it, so I may as well do that. Alright, I will buy the pet reviving item, save my game, and then call it for the night, I think. Actually, no, we still got like 10 minutes. I thought it was like right on the, hour. Well, I kind of did catch that Zero was bullshitting me, given that I switched back to ice as soon as I saw that it worked. Anyway. Resurrect. Welcome back, Plant. Alright, to the library, which was... up top was the laboratory? Library, I think, was actually by Zoran, come to think of it. I might be misremembering. We'll find out promptly. Imagine having to climb a ladder like that to, like... I don't know, get out of an area. That'd be exhausting. Thank you for the rotation. Hey, Zero. I'm a bit worried, you know? I am indifferent to your concerns. Come on, dude, ask me why. I will do no such thing. Okay, I'll tell you anyway. See, I was thinking about this hallucination, and it doesn't fit at all. I don't know, it's taking too long. You know, dude, maybe I should think about other possibilities. What do you think? You're still convinced that this is not real? Of course, and I can prove it. How? Easy. Impossible things happen here. Impossible things? Like what? I can fall from any height without getting hurt. Harnakon enchanted this castle to prevent that. Harnakon enchanted this castle to prevent that from happening. I see. Also, everybody speaks my language. Harnakon enchanted this castle so that all creatures can communicate, no matter what language they speak, except the Black speech. Oh sure, like a universal translator. Except the Black speech. And like magical tomes that I don't have the blessing from the appropriate pure spirit for. Does the pet not attack unless it's missing health? Huh, I think it might not attack unless it's missing health. Interesting. Because it wasn't attacking earlier. I know that it heals me, but it said that it... corroding. It said that it heals me when my health is low. Yeah, I don't think it attacks unless its health is low. And then healing me would lower its health. Interesting. So actually, if I'm playing really well, I actually wouldn't have any use for this guy. Interesting. On one hand, it's a little bit disappointing because it's not as good as I initially thought it was. On the other hand, it's probably for the best because if it was as good as I thought it was, there'd be no reason to ever use anything else. Just kill me. I take it these are the orcs that that I keep getting drops that help me hurt. Ones that are like specifically anti-orc. Need key to the halls for that one. It doesn't look like there's much reason to go down there other than to just die, but... the walls might be breakable. The walls are not breakable. Can't talk to her. You dirty old man. Are you not ashamed to be with such a young female? She could be your daughter. She is my daughter. Yes? Yeah? She's yours? Yeah, no, like I could tell that it was to hurt if I fell into it. I'm just like, the walls might be breakable, so I gotta go in anyway. Yes? Yeah? She has your eyes. I wish grandson big and strong. I wish my daughter has children from great Orc Grom. Let me guess. You're looking for this orc and you can't find him. I can find him for you for just a few coins. I find orc. Great Grom in room behind orc. Ah, no hits. I ask orc to fecundate my daughter, but orcs say no. Really? Maybe he's, you know, not into girls. Orc not a cleric. Orc warrior. I didn't mean that. Maybe he is orc sexual. You don't understand, but Grom offends my daughter. If Grom no mate with daughter, Grom no mate with other females. I give great gift if you make Grom lose his potency. You don't want me to just kill him? It's great honor for orcs to die in battle. I seek dishonor. So how do we remove his potency? Grom asleep in beyond door in bedroom. You cover vital parts of Grom with leeches. This make lose his potency and be great dishonor. Other orcs watch. You enter without being seen. Wow, what a wicked plan. If I put leeches on his vital parts, it'll shrivel up like a raisin. That sounds... abominable. Yeah, it doesn't do anything if we're both at full health. Been a minute since I used the spear. Ah, finally, light. What is in my... vampire bloodsucker? I need to clean up this inventory. I will grab that last chest. Ooh, sconce. Oh, blue essence, we take those. What if you just like insert themselves into my inventory is kind of weird. I don't hate it thematically, it's just kind of weird. We boot the snakes from a safe distance. Broad knife. Inflicts extra damage against orcs. I really need to clear out my inventory. Zira? Yeah? Parlez-vous français? I can't understand you. So you understand English but not French. Aha, I caught you. What? What do you mean? You told me that Harnakon charmed this entire castle so all creatures can understand each other, even if they speak different languages. That is true. But I spoke to you in another language that I know, French, and you couldn't understand me. Ergo, the charm is a lie. Maybe you've not mastered this language. What do you mean? French for me is like a second native language. Listen carefully. Salut, je suis un homme. J'arrive chez moi avec père et ma mère. Vous êtes dans le monde Shadow. Shadow. It looks like you speak it fluently, but I still don't understand. That's because you have no culture, bud. There's something else. In the mine, there was that stupid barking dog. If it barked in its language, why didn't I understand anything? You know, something like, I bite you, I bite you. The spell doesn't affect beasts. Gotcha. And what if I wrote something on the wall and you tried to? And what if you shut up? Okay, I'll shut up. Alright, we are at the end of the night, so we're just gonna call it there. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. The next scheduled stream is going to be on Sunday. The game is going to be Teardown. The next time that I'm playing Unepic in particular is going to be on Monday. I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope to see you again. Good night.